Chapter 61 Reverse Invasion of the Chitauri. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the top floor of Stark Tower, a portal shimmered open, and Tony Stark stepped through. He was clad in a striking red and gold armor, but unlike his previous designs, this one was etched with intricate magical runes and pulsed with raw magical energy. Clearly, Tony had found a way to merge magic and technology seamlessly. This was his new creation, Mark 7, the magic armor. Emerging from the portal, Tony immediately took in the scene: Captain America, the Hulk, and others staring up at the swirling portal in the sky. A wave of realization washed over him. He understood what Sumu had done, the shocking ambition he'd pursued. He was trying to pull other cosmic forces to Earth. Sumu, shut that thing down, now. Tony yelled, urgency lacing his voice. If it stays open, we'll get an alien invasion. It'll be a total disaster for New York, that even if they managed to beat back the invaders, the collateral damage would be immense. New York would be ravaged, and countless innocent people would suffer. Tony's heart wouldn't let that happen. Sumu, however, remained unmoved by Tony's pleas. He simply clapped him on the shoulder, his voice laced with knowing. Tony, you're going to be the next Sorcerer Supreme. You need to think bigger. Opening this portal isn't about them invading us. It's about Earth starting its takeover of the entire universe. Before Tony could even process that bombshell, Sumu strode towards the slowly widening portal. A swarm of Chitauri soldiers was already surging through. They paused for a split second, surprised to see Sumu, before baring their teeth in cruel grins. They started shouting to each other. Kill the Earthling. Earth's domination starts with him. Sumu didn't need to understand their guttural language, their bloodlust was clear enough. He grinned back, a dark energy crackling around him, coalescing at the tip of his index finger. He pointed towards the massive portal. The black-red singularity at his fingertip rapidly grew, a miniature black hole the size of a person, and then it launched forward. The resulting sonic boom shattered windows for miles. Half of the Chitauri soldiers had already crossed over, their forms solidifying in Earth's atmosphere. When the singularity slammed into them, the force annihilated everything in its path. Bodies, mounts, weapons, all pulverized into dust. The black-red singularity ripped through the portal, wiping out the first wave of the Chitauri Legion. A hazy cloud of blood and debris filled the void. The singularity didn't stop there, rocketing onward into the vastness of space. On the Chitauri mothership, the commander saw the carnage and barked orders: fire! Fire! Don't let that thing hit the ship. A barrage of energy blasts rained down on the singularity, slowing it, but not stopping it. It punched through the defenses and slammed into the hull of the Chitauri vessel. The commander heard a deafening crash, followed by the screech of tearing metal. A massive red warning flashed on the main display. A single attack had crippled their ship. This was supposed to be a backward planet. Where did they get tech like that? Just then, his second-in-command reported, Commander, an Earthling is coming through the portal. The commander swung his gaze back to the portal and saw a white-haired, blue-eyed man drifting out. The man ignored the deadly radiation, the lack of atmosphere, the freezing temperatures, the mutilated bodies of his enemies, and he stared straight at the commander with a terrifying smile. A chill ran down the commander's spine. He remembered a rumor that had been circulating through the cosmos: Earth was a dangerous place, filled with powerful beings. Even Captain Marvel, the cosmic powerhouse, was from Earth. He dismissed it as propaganda. How could a backwater planet like Earth produce someone like Captain Marvel? But looking at the white-haired man, he started to believe it. One of his soldiers spoke up, fear in his voice. Commander, we're detecting extremely high energy readings from that Earthling. That attack from before, it came from him. What? Out in the vacuum of space, Sumu floated weightlessly. His energy absorption was constantly fortifying him, drawing in cosmic radiation. His healing powers mended any damage from the hostile environment, allowing him to survive without oxygen. He had reached a point where he could survive in the universe with nothing but his own body. He fixed his gaze on the Chitauri mothership, raised a hand to his ear, and issued the command to Captain America and the rest of the Avengers on Earth. Charge! Boom! 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 A spaceship emerged from the portal, carrying the core members of the Avengers, bonded with symbiotes. and heading straight toward the Chitauri mothership. "Intercept them. Don't let them get close," the commander screamed. He had a terrible feeling that if that ship got close, something awful would happen. A storm of energy blasts hurtled towards the ship. Just as the commander thought they had them, he saw the white-haired Earthling on the ship, absorbing all the energy harmlessly. The next moment, the spaceship slammed into the Chitauri mothership, tearing through the armor. The symbiote heroes burst out, and right behind them was the white-haired Earthling. Chapter 62 Reversal Technique Level 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tony Stark's jaw dropped as he watched Sumu and the spaceship slam into the alien mothership. He'd figured Sumu opened the portal on a whim, which fit his usual style, but this was next-level crazy. He'd just straight-up invaded and launched an attack on a cosmic force. Tony, despite being a good guy, had zero sympathy for alien invaders, so he muttered, "Not bad." Then he blasted off into space himself. Thanks to Kamartaj, Tony had been briefed on the various cosmic powers and had been preparing for a space battle for a while. His souped-up Mark 7, enhanced with magic, was ready for extended operations in space. By the time Tony arrived at the Chitauri mothership, the battle was in full swing. Captain America and the others, bonded with symbiotes, had gained some of the Hulk's raw power. They charged the Chitauri, who were firing energy guns like crazy, and each hit from the heroes tore them apart. Hulk was tearing through the Chitauri forces. The symbiote he was bonded with had absorbed Loki's frost giant abilities, and now every attack was infused with frost. Hulk's brute strength combined with frost powers. He was practically unstoppable. The Chitauri soldiers unloaded on Hulk, but the energy blasts only managed to singe a layer of the symbiote on his skin. They were helpless as Hulk closed in and ripped them to shreds. As terrifying as Hulk was, it was the white-haired Earthling in the back who scared the Chitauri the most. He was clearly the leader of this group, and easily the most powerful. Unlike Hulk, he didn't brute force the energy blasts. He absorbed them, adding to his strength. And even on the battlefield, he remained pristine. Smoke and blood were repelled from his body, unable to get close. Even more terrifying, he never actively attacked. But if any Chitauri soldier got within 15 feet of him, they were instantly sliced into pieces, leaving nothing behind. That 15-foot radius around the Earthling was like an invisible black hole, devouring anyone who dared to approach. He was way more terrifying to the Chitauri than the Hulk. When Tony arrived, he saw the carnage. The Chitauri were getting slaughtered left and right by Sumu. These guys were supposed to be the invaders, the hunters, but now they were the prey, completely helpless. Tony eyed the weird, gooey creatures on Captain America and the others and asked Sumu, "What's up with Cap and the others?" "What are those things?" Sumu strolled across the battlefield like he was taking a walk through a cherry blossom garden, totally relaxed. The Chitauri attacks didn't even faze him. Hearing Tony's question, he explained, "Symbiotes. Bonding with a host copies their abilities and enhances their physical attributes." "Do they have a mind of their own?" Tony asked, noticing the intelligence in the symbiotes. "Yep. Want one? I've figured out how to make them now. Can't mass-produce them, but I could hook you up with a few." Tony stared at the symbiotes with curiosity, then nodded. "Thanks. I bet I could get some ideas for my nanotechnology from them." Inside the mothership's control room, the commander stared at the radar projection of the approaching Earthlings, his face etched with fear. He couldn't wrap his head around it. This planet was supposed to be a backwater. How had they advanced so far, so fast? He asked the soldier next to him, "Do we have an ID on that white-haired Earthling?" The soldier replied immediately, "According to the Earth Network database, his name is Sumu. He's listed as a level 5 mutant. He has incredible power. I even suspect." "Suspect what?" "Speak up." The soldier stuttered. "I suspect he's more powerful than Thanos himself." The commander snapped his head around, glaring at the soldier. "What did you just say?" The soldier, intimidated by the commander's fury, stammered, I suspect he's stronger than Lord Thanos. I found information in the database of an Earth organization called S.H.I.E.L.D. Apparently, a powerful warrior of the Eternal Clan, one on par with Lord Thanos, was killed by Sumu. And it was a total stomp in Sumu's favor. The commander fell silent. He finally understood the kind of monster they were up against. This was a lost cause. He barked at his soldiers, "Notify Lord Thanos. Request immediate reinforcements." "Yes, sir." On a planet ravaged by war, where half the population had been wiped out, the fires of conflict were slowly dying. In a makeshift camp, Mtlno received a distress signal from the Chitauri, claiming they were facing incredibly powerful humans on Earth. Mtlno initially assumed it was the Sorcerer Supreme, but when the Chitauri sent an image of the person in question, he knew it wasn't. This was a relief. The Sorcerer Supreme and Lord Thanos were equals. If it was him, they would have serious problems. Since it wasn't, they should be good. Still, as a loyal subordinate, he informed Thanos, who replied, "Send Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, and Black Dwarf to eliminate those Earthlings. And while they're at it, slaughter the Chitauri. The worthless scum have outlived their usefulness." "Yes, Lord." Meanwhile, because he was in a space environment, Sumu had to constantly use the reversal technique to repair the damage to his cells caused by the lack of oxygen. His skill experience was skyrocketing. Finally, just as Captain America and the others were about to breach the Chitauri mothership's control room, the system alerts went off. Reversal technique experience +1. Congratulations. Your skill reversal technique has leveled up. Reversal technique LV3, 1/1000 converts negative energy from cursed power into positive energy. Possesses potent healing properties. Can be used on others. Chapter 63 The Arrival of the Black Legion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The reversal technique leveled up again. Sumu used his space blade to make a cut on his palm, which healed instantly thanks to the level 3 reversal technique. The healing speed was now several times faster than level 2. If the level 2 reversal technique was comparable to Wolverine's healing factor, this was on a whole other level. If Sumu kept at it, he could practically become immortal. At this point, continuously activating the reversal technique and the unlimited technique was no sweat for him. Besides the increased healing speed, he could now use the level 3 reversal technique on other people. Sumu guessed that level 4 would be a game changer. He might be able to reverse his own condition, turning back time on himself, becoming younger, and freely shifting between different ages, and of course, he could use this on other living things, and even inanimate objects. Once the reversal technique hit level 4, he should be able to extract the reality stone from Jane Foster. Closing the system panel, Sumu looked ahead. The Hulk, with his new frost giant physique, was tearing through the Chitauri soldiers. Captain America and the others followed close behind, taking out any Chitauri that Hulk missed. They were closing in on the command center, and no Chitauri stood a chance. The Chitauri tried everything to stop them, but they were no match for Sumu and his team. In no time, they were at the door of the command room. Boom! Hulk punched through the metal door, blasting it open. Sumu and the others walked in. The Chitauri commander was hiding behind his remaining soldiers, looking defeated. He warned Sumu, who was obviously the leader. "Earthlings, I am a vanguard of the Mad Titan. We've sent a distress call. The Black Order is on their way. Leave now, and I'll forget this ever happened." Sumu ignored him and kept walking towards the commander. Seeing this terrifying Earthling approach, the commander panicked and yelled at his soldiers. "Fire! Kill him!" A barrage of energy blasts hit Sumu, but they did nothing except give him a few energy points. Through the dense energy fire and past the desperate Chitauri, Sumu came within 15 feet of the soldiers. The Chitauri soldier in front was instantly sliced in half. Before his top half could even fall, the next slash cut him into 4 pieces, then a flurry of strikes engulfed the Chitauri, turning them into a bloody mist that couldn't even touch Sumu, stopping 15 feet away. By the time Sumu reached the Chitauri commander, all his soldiers were dead. Faced with this terrifying Earthling, and consumed by fear and despair, the commander lost it. "Stay away from me, you monster!" He grabbed what looked like an earpiece from a nearby table and put it on. Thanks to the universal translator, Sumu could finally understand him. He crooked his finger, and the commander was lifted into the air, trapped by gravity. The force field shook him violently, and the sound of breaking bones filled the room. Sumu smiled gently and said, "Looking at you, wriggling like a bug, is this how the fearsome invaders of a universe cry?" Just as Sumu was about to say more, a rough voice echoed through the command room. "Earthling, I demand you release him. Only the Mad Titan can punish his own subordinates." In the center of the room, a tall, gray-skinned humanoid was projected into the room. He warned Sumu. "Earthlings, let him go, surrender, and accept Thanos' judgment. That is your only chance." In the void, a wormhole opened, and a warship several times the size of the Chitauri mothership came through. The Death Blade General, Proxima Midnight, and Black Dwarf looked at the Earthlings who had taken the Chitauri bridge through a projection. PS, 5 stars, Black Dwarf. While Black Dwarf spoke to the Earthlings, General Deathblade spoke to his wife, Proxima Midnight. "The Chitauri are such trash. They were defeated by Earth's natives. Even if the Chitauri are useless, they still belong to Thanos. If they attack Thanos' forces, those cowardly Earthlings will pay the price." Proxima Midnight added, "We will show the Earthlings what happens when you provoke Thanos." They didn't think the cowardly Earthlings would resist Thanos' Black Order, or even dare to fight them. PS, 5-star generals, Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight. Unlike the Chitauri, the Black Order was the core of Thanos' army, with far superior fighting power. They believed that the Earthlings would surrender and await the judgment of the Mad Titan. However, as they talked, Black Dwarf, who was still talking to the Earthlings, suddenly roared. "No, you bastard! Damn bug! I'm going to tear you apart." Then they heard Black Dwarf say, "That Earthling rejected us and killed the Chitauri commander. He even challenged the Black Order." When General Deathblade and his wife heard this, they became enraged. They dare challenge the Black Order? Those ignorant Earthlings don't know the Black Order's reputation. But even if they don't, the Black Order will not tolerate provocation. It looks like it's time to teach the Earthlings what it means to be afraid. Attack the Chitauri mothership and turn those Earthlings into cosmic dust. Under the general's command, the warship's energy cannons charged. After a brief pause, a terrifying energy beam shot towards the Chitauri mothership. Watching the energy beam fly through space towards the Chitauri mothership, the three generals smiled confidently. Just as they thought the Earthlings would be turned to dust, they suddenly realized that the energy beam had stopped right in front of the Chitauri mothership. A white-haired Earthling stood in front of the beam, stopping it with one hand. Chapter 64 Kill the Black Dwarf Proxima Centauri. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time rewound a few minutes. Facing the Black Dwarf, Sumu smirked, then dropped the force field and lowered the Chitauri commander from the air. Black Dwarf took it all in stride. Faced with the Black Order, any power would cave, especially cowardly Earthlings. But then he saw the Earthling walk up to the Chitauri commander and poke at his skin. A dazzling light flared, and the huge burst of energy incinerated the commander to dust. After that, Sumu flipped off Black Dwarf to show his displeasure. Tony Stark, watching the whole thing, pointed at the Black Order warship in the distance and said, "You sure about this? They look pissed. Maybe we should bug out." Through the control room window, they could clearly see the distant warship. After Sumu's middle finger salute, the comms cut out, and the ship's main cannon started charging. They were obviously planning to blast the Chitauri mothership. PS, Spaceship, Temple 2, Tony, checking the Mark 7 sensors, said, "The energy output on that thing is nuke level, and it's a continuous beam. We can't stop it. I say we head back and get Doctor Strange to help us fend off Thanos' goons." But he noticed Sumu had already opened a portal, stepped through, and was now standing in the path of the incoming energy beam. He yelled, "What are you doing? Get back here. Even if you can take a nuke, you can't handle a warship's energy beam. That beam is way more concentrated than a nuke. Open the portal. Let's go home. Strange will fix this." Before he could finish, the terrifying energy beam shot from the warship's main cannon, instantly bridging the gap and hitting the Chitauri mothership. Compared to that massive energy beam, Sumu looked like an ant trying to stop a truck, about to get squashed. Tony immediately opened a portal, trying to yank Sumu back to Earth. Even with magic, the Mark armor couldn't budge him. As they froze, the energy beam slammed into them. Tony Stark shouted, "No," that he tried to close the portal, but it was too late. The next instant, the energy beam hit. Tony Stark could only pray that the Mark armor and Sumu's powers could withstand it long enough to give them a chance, but when the energy beam touched Sumu, it just stopped. Tony Stark stared in disbelief. What the hell? Sumu looked back and smiled. Relax, Iron Man, we're all sorcerers supreme here. You and Cap just hang tight. I'll be right back. Then, still bracing against the energy beam, Sumu started moving, bucking the current towards the distant warship at top speed. As he flew, system prompts kept popping up in his head. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. Energy absorption was turning the warship's energy beam into energy points. This energy was low-grade, nowhere near the stuff in the Eternal's energy core, so Sumu had no problem soaking it up. He flew, defying gravity, slamming into the main cannon. A black and red singularity formed in his palm and he hurled it. The cannon was instantly obliterated by the terrifying force. Sumu vanished from sight, reappearing in front of the warship's control room. He charged. The reinforced glass, designed to withstand massive impacts, shattered instantly. Sumu materialized in front of Black Dwarf, grabbed his head, and slammed him into the floor. Black Dwarf's body was instantly embedded in the metal. He struggled with all his might, but against the guy who was way smaller than him, he couldn't break free. He felt a mountain pressing down from his forehead, a force he couldn't resist. The might of the Black Dwarf, which terrified the universe, was nothing to Sumu. Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight finally understood. The Earthling had actually charged through the energy beam, wrecked the main cannon, barged into the control room, and pinned Black Dwarf in seconds. How was this even possible? Was there another cosmic-level threat on Earth besides Strange and Captain Marvel? Even as they thought, they attacked, weapons raised, but Sumu ignored them. Black and red lightning crackled in his hands. As Corvus Glaive's and Proxima Midnight's attacks got within 15 feet, they stalled. Under the effect of the black flash, Black Dwarf's head, which could withstand the energy beam, was crushed by Sumu. Standing, flicking the blood from his hands with unlimited technique, Sumu looked at Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight and smiled gently. Surrender, huh? Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight exchanged glances and split up, flanking Sumu. Corvus Glaive moved first, swinging his atom-splitting glaive at Sumu, but even though the glaive could cut atoms, it couldn't get through the unlimited technique. Sumu flicked his wrist, and the force of the repulsion sent Corvus Glaive flying, smashing through the wall. Then Sumu turned to face Proxima Midnight, who slashed with her spear. But the spear, supposed to move at light speed, couldn't break through the unlimited technique either. Seeing the impossible, fear flickered in Proxima Midnight's eyes. Not even Thanos made her feel so helpless. Looking at the white-haired Earthling, she asked, "Who are you?" Sumu didn't answer. He vanished, reappearing in front of Proxima Midnight. The singularity, flashing black and red, slammed into her head at point-blank range. Her head exploded, blood splattering everywhere. A huge crater appeared in the floor where her head had been. Corvus Glaive charged back in, just in time to see his wife die. "No!" he roared, and charged at Sumu like a moth to a flame. Chapter 65 Killing General Corvus Blade. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Corvus Glaive's face contorted in anguish, his ugliness amplified, a stark contrast to Sumu's gentle smile. The war blade whistled as it tore through the air, aimed at Sumu, but the attack, capable of shattering the Hulk's defenses, halted 5 meters short. Sumu's smile widened as he watched Corvus Glaive rant and rave. He deliberately shortened the range of his invincibility field, creating the illusion that Corvus Glaive's attacks were breaking through, and said with mock exaggeration, "Whoa, scary. You almost got me." "Back off." Consumed by rage, Corvus Glaive missed the teasing in Sumu's eyes. Seeing his wife's killer within reach, excitement flickered across his face. We can win. His defense isn't impenetrable. Corvus Glaive swung his glaive furiously, creating a whirlwind in the control room. Each swing prompted Sumu to shrink his invincibility field, drawing Corvus Glaive closer. Finally, he stood before Sumu, unable to contain his glee. Corvus Glaive roared, "Lowly Earthling, die!" As the glaive hurtled toward him, Sumu feigned terror, stretching out a hand as if in a desperate, random attempt to block the attack. Corvus Glaive envisioned his glaive severing Sumu's arm and cleaving him in two. Revenge for his wife would soon be his. But then, as if by chance, the glaive, moving faster than sound, was stopped by a slender, bony index finger. Corvus Glaive stared in disbelief as the blade went from a blur of motion to dead still. The Earthling's forced smile broke, replaced by amusement. The manufactured panic vanished, replaced by playful mockery. "Ha ha ha, your face. You really thought you had a chance, didn't you?" Sumu clutched his stomach, his laughter fueled by the dumbfounded look on Corvus Glaive's face. He couldn't hold it in. Realizing he'd been played, Corvus Glaive snapped, losing all composure. He roared and swung his glaive with renewed fury. But the war blade, capable of splitting atoms, remained locked against that single index finger, unable to move. The seemingly fragile finger resisted the blade, unmarked and unscathed. Overwhelmed by the futility of it all, Corvus Glaive screamed, "No!" Sumu picked at his ear, then slowly advanced on Corvus Glaive. The invincibility field expanded again. Corvus Glaive swung his blade as before, but now, the distance between him and Sumu steadily increased, stretching back to the initial 5 meters. Sumu pressed forward, pinning Corvus Glaive against the wall. The metal wall alone couldn't cause such damage, but Sumu also exerted a repelling force on the wall itself. Corvus Glaive's shattered body was caught in a collision of opposing forces. Under immense pressure, Corvus Glaive's body rapidly disintegrated. But his regenerative abilities kept him alive. Even as he was reduced to a pulpy mess, he could still vibrate his remaining organs to speak. "Haha, you can't kill me. I'll get you one day." Sumu's smile remained unchanged. He said, "True, without destroying the glaive of souls, it's impossible to truly kill you. Your body will regenerate endlessly, and you can even be resurrected with the blade's help." The arrogance on Corvus Glaive's face faltered. "How do you know my abilities?" That he quickly recovered his bravado. "But so what if you do? My war blade is indestructible. Even Thanos couldn't destroy it, let alone you." "Really?" Using telekinesis, Sumu pulled the glaive from the floor and gripped it tightly. Black and red lightning crackled, but even using black flash, he couldn't shatter it. Corvus Glaive's smirk widened. "What makes you think a puny earthling can destroy my war blade?" "Keep dreaming." Unfazed, Sumu gave him a mocking look. "I've encountered a lot of so-called indestructible things. The destroyer armor from Asgard comes to mind. Is your war blade tougher than Odin's destroyer?" Corvus Glaive's face fell. He knew of Odin's destroyer armor and its power, it rivaled that of the Celestials. Though he was confident in his war blade, he doubted it could match the destroyer armor. His confidence shattered, he anxiously asked, "What are you going to do?" Sumu didn't answer. He'd had his fun. He tightened his grip on the war blade. Azure light coalesced in his palm, followed by black and red energy. The two energies collided and merged, creating a terrifying purple sphere in Sumu's hand. Imaginary mass, purple. The supposedly indestructible blade crumbled visibly before the purple sphere, which warped space itself. The parts touched by the sphere were instantly annihilated, leaving no trace. As the blade disintegrated, Corvus Glaive let out a desperate, agonizing wail. His soul was bound to the blade, and was being annihilated along with it, whether out of sheer cruelty or not. Sumu extended the process, slowly annihilating the blade. Finally, after a few minutes, Corvus Glaive's cries ceased. His regenerating flesh went still, falling into a deathly silence. Corvus Glaive, the strongest of the Black Order, Thanos' top general, had been easily killed by Su-Mu. To be continued. Chapter 66. The next character template to be launched. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su-Mu channeled his inner energy, precisely guiding it with his 6 eyes, and incinerated the 3 dead Blade Generals' corpses. The remains of their bodies were reduced to ashes, along with the scattered flesh and blood. After dealing with the bodies, his 6 eyes revealed a swarm of Black Radiance Legion soldiers heading his way. They were Thanos' elite, and even with their leader gone and the odds stacked against them, they charged into battle. P.S. Black Legion. Before, Su-Mu might have just blasted them all with his virtual, but now he had a better idea. Subdue the Black Legion without wrecking the spaceship. He still needed it intact. As the Black Legion soldiers closed in, he extended his right hand, raising his index and middle fingers, then wrapping his middle finger around the index finger. After that brief gesture, he calmly announced domain expansion, infinite space. The energy within him surged, rapidly converting into pure magic, which then was instantly drained. An endless stream of information flooded the entire spaceship, dragging every living thing inside into an infinite loop of perceptions and conductions, generating massive amounts of useless data. The moment the domain took hold, the Black Legion soldiers froze in their tracks. Su-Mu grinned, then vanished, reappearing 5 meters away. He teleported around, touching each of the frozen soldiers, and pumped energy into their bodies. As Su-Mu flickered about, beams of light erupted from the Black Legion soldiers, turning them to dust. The energy needed to eliminate the soldiers was a pittance for Su-Mu. Even the energy he'd absorbed from the spaceship's weapons was enough to vaporize them all. Using his LV-4 unlimited teleportation ability, Su-Mu ghosted through every section of the spaceship, quickly returning to the control room. He wiped out the entire Black Radiance Legion in a heartbeat, leaving only ashes behind. In the control room, Su-Mu paused. The strain from the constant space jumps was quickly undone by his reversal technique. He was back to full power in a flash. With the enemy neutralized, Su-Mu opened a portal to the Chitauri mothership, inviting Tony and the others aboard Temple 2. He asked Tony, who was gawking at his surroundings. "Tony, can you pilot this thing?" Tony replied with his trademark confidence. "Of course. You're looking at the world's greatest inventor. What can't I do? But what about the crew? Where is everyone? Taken care of? What?" On Thanos' other ship, Temple 1, Thanos was growing increasingly agitated. He demanded of Ebony Maw. "Why haven't Deathblade and the others reported back?" Ebony Maw was equally perplexed and said to Thanos, "I will contact Deathblade and the others." Ebony Maw tried to hail Temple 2, but the communications array had been wrecked by Su-Mu, and Tony was still fixing it. The call was doomed to fail. When the call wouldn't connect, Ebony Maw's apprehension spiked. He uttered in disbelief. Could it be? He pulled up the internal surveillance feed for Temple 2. There, he and Thanos saw the white-haired Earthling mowing down enemies, the Black Dwarf's crushed head, Proxima Midnight's upper body atomized by horrific repulsion, and the War Blade obliterated by the terrifying purple sphere. Ebony Maw fell silent, and so did the Mad Titan, who had struck fear into the entire universe. Thanos' face contorted in rage, but he knew he couldn't seek revenge yet. The Earthling in the surveillance feed, the one who effortlessly annihilated General Deathblade's blade, was already his equal, if not stronger, and that was just what the Earthling showed. He was clearly holding back. General Deathblade and the others never forced him to use his full power. The fury on Thanos' face gradually subsided, replaced by a cold calculation. Revenge would have to wait. He still had a grander purpose to fulfill. So, he told Ebony Maw with resignation. "Focus on finding the Power Stone. Only after we have it can we invade Earth." Faced with this terrifying white-haired Earthling, even the Mad Titan, who has terrified all the major forces in the universe and acted unscrupulously, killing countless creatures, has to lay low. Because he can't beat him. Thanos, defeated. Su-Mu was pleased to hear Tony's confirmation and tasked him with repairing the spaceship's control room and teaching Black Widow and the others how to operate it. from now on, this spaceship would serve as the Sudoan Bureau's primary base. If it was going to be the base of the Sushield Bureau, then the name of the spaceship will have to be delayed. Temple number 2 is obviously not suitable. Sumu thought for a moment and finally decided on the name of the spaceship, which is called Ark. The savior ship that brings peace to the major forces in the universe in the future. Leaving Tony and company on the spaceship, Sumu opened a portal and returned to the top of the Stark building. He went to the portal generator, and the Mind Stone levitated out of his pocket dimension. A surge of energy wrapped around Sumu's arm, the Mind Stone at its core. Sumu reached out, passing through the solid energy barrier, and retrieved the Tesseract, the space cube. Feeling the immense spatial energy within, Sumu squeezed slightly. The Tesseract shattered in a crackle of black and red energy, revealing the blue space stone inside. Under the influence of the unlimited technique, the two cosmic stones slowly revolved around Sumu, infusing him with vast amounts of energy. Energy point +1, dot, energy point +1, dot, energy point +1, the system notifications chimed in his ears. Sumu's body was nearing its limit again, having absorbed a tremendous amount of energy. This, combined with the accumulation from the past few days, had greatly boosted his template fusion. Template fusion, 91%. The template fusion was almost at 100%. The next character template would unlock soon. Sumu grinned, pleased, but there was something that could make him even more happy. He opened a portal and stepped onto the helicarrier. He asked Agent Hill, ever the professional. Tell me where the top military brass are meeting right now. Chapter 67. The killing begins, the first general dies. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After establishing S.H.I.E.L.D., Sumu tasked Agent Hill with using every available resource to track down the generals involved in the attempt to take him out. Sumu wasn't one to turn the other cheek. He wasn't about to let bygones be bygones just because they were hurting him. The only reason he'd spared those generals before was because he didn't know exactly where to find them. Now, with S.H.I.E.L.D.'s resources at his disposal, locating them would be a piece of cake. It wasn't long before Agent Hill presented Sumu with a tablet, its map covered in red markers. These were the current locations of those generals. Looking at the markers, Sumu grinned. It was payback time. In a hidden military base, the commanding general was in a meeting. This was the third meeting the military had held specifically to deal with the White Devil. Usually, meetings were for big stuff, like disputes with other countries. Never had they dedicated so much time to a single individual. But the White Devil was a special case, warranting multiple emergency sessions. Even worse, their meticulously planned operation to trap the White Devil had completely failed, having zero effect. Not since World War II had the U.S. military faced such a humiliating setback. During the meeting, the highest-ranking general turned to Colonel Stryker, who headed the Sentinel project. Colonel Stryker, what's the progress on the Sentinel robots? Despite being the lowest in rank at this top-secret meeting, Colonel Stryker instantly commanded everyone's attention. The Sentinel project represented their only hope. Knowing the White Devil's MO, revenge was inevitable. Unless they eliminated him quickly, they'd all be dead men walking. They were locked in a fight to the finish. Hearing the Supreme General's question, Colonel Stryker said confidently. Thanks to Dr. Samuel Stern and Dr. Ivan Vanko, the Sentinel robot project is moving along at an accelerated pace. We're in the final stage now, just waiting on final field testing. This new version of the Sentinel robot incorporates Mystique's shape-shifting gene, which lets it adapt to a wide range of mutant abilities. It also uses an arc reactor as its power core. The huge amount of energy it provides allows the robot to dramatically amplify the copied mutant powers. We estimate that just 10 Sentinel robots can take down a level 4 mutant. And 100 attacking at once? Even the White Devil won't stand a chance. That the latest Sentinel robot design appeared on the conference room's large screen. While retaining their original shape, these new models featured a glowing core on their chests. The arc reactor, the material composing the arc reactor wasn't metal, but a composite even harder, with amazing regenerative abilities. Colonel Stryker's explanation brought smiles to the generals' faces. The death anxiety they'd been experiencing vanished instantly. With robots that powerful, they were sure to eliminate the White Devil. Just then, a massive explosion rocked the base, followed by screams and gunfire. The general felt a cold dread wash over him. Moments later, a soldier burst in. "General, the White Devil has found our location. He's attacking. You need to evacuate immediately." "What?" The general was stunned. How could the White Devil have found them? Aside from a few clandestine organizations, not even the president knew their location. Where had the information leaked from? His brief confusion was quickly replaced by overwhelming fear. Given the White Devil's power, the base's defenses, enough to level a small country, wouldn't slow him down for a second. He snapped out of it and barked at Colonel Stryker. "Colonel Stryker, how many Sentinel robots are ready? Send them to extract me, ASAP. The White Devil's found me and is tearing through the base." "Holy crap," the other generals looked horrified. They knew that if the White Devil could find one of them, he could find them all. However he did it, they were no longer safe. The generals immediately piled pressure on Colonel Stryker. "Stryker, get those Sentinel robots over to General Gordon, now. Eliminate the White Devil." "Yes, generals. Rest assured, we have 200 Sentinel robots ready for deployment. They will easily defeat the White Devil. Just hang tight, General Gordon, reinforcements are on the way." Sumu, using his Tsang spell, flew at high speed, breaking the sound barrier and hitting Mach 20. It would only take him a few minutes to reach the nearest military base. As Sumu arrived overhead, a piercing alarm blared. "Alert! Alert! Unknown flying object approaching." "No, it's not an unknown flying object, it's the White Devil," the alarm shrieked as Sumu plunged from the sky, plummeting thousands of feet into the military base like a meteorite. Boom! With a deafening roar, an unstoppable shockwave exploded from the point of impact, obliterating everything in its path. In an instant, it flattened every building on the base. The heavy tanks were tossed around like toys, their drivers instantly killed by the force of the blast. With all the buildings destroyed and everyone on the surface dead, Sumu remained. He calmly walked toward a corner of the ruins. His unlimited technique automatically dispersed the smoke and dust, leaving him perfectly clean. Reaching a specific spot, Sumu stopped. Energy surged within him, condensing into a terrifying black and red singularity in his hand. The singularity, fully formed, plummeted downward. The overwhelming force destroyed everything below, instantly creating a massive circular crater. 100 meters below, an underground bunker, smashed by the terrifying power, was revealed. There, Sumu spotted the general he'd been looking for. Under Liuyan's precise control, the general's legs had been crushed by the force, leaving him alive but writhing on the ground. Using gravity, Sumu levitated the general up, ignoring his pleas for mercy. He pointed a finger at the general's chest, then turned and left. One down. Boom. A massive explosion tore through the general's body, unleashing a blinding flash of light and heat, obliterating everything nearby. Thousands of feet above, Sumu glanced back at the mushroom cloud rising behind him, a smile spreading across his face. The next moment, he broke the sound barrier, racing toward his next target. Chapter 68 The White Devil, the Focus of the World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 68, The World's Focus, The White Devil. Minutes later, Sumu arrived at another military base. Ignoring the high-yield missiles and the barrage of gunfire from below, he hovered high above. The energy within him surged, rapidly depleting. The black-red singularity in his palm grew, expanding to half his size. Spell reversal he experienced +1. Spell reversal he experienced +1. Spell reversal he experienced +1. As the system notifications flashed and soldiers watched in terror, the black-red singularity transformed into a beam of light, plummeting to Earth. Boom. When the sound died down and the dust cleared, the military base was gone, replaced by a massive, circular crater, confirming the second general's demise. Sumu shot off towards the nearest base. He repeated this process over and over. The major media quickly picked up on Sumu's actions, with some even broadcasting live from the ruins of the military bases. Leading the charge was Eddie Brock, the up-and-coming journalist many viewers knew. He'd previously taken the brunt of Sumu's spell. Reversal his body nearly crushed. Only Venom's desperate healing had saved him after weeks in bed, but this setback hadn't deterred him from covering the White Devil. His reputation was on the line, and he couldn't abandon the story that had made him, standing before the camera, he reported. The White Devil launched a sudden attack on our military bases an hour ago. We believe this is retaliation for the military's earlier assault. In just 1 hour, he's leveled 5 bases, causing tens of thousands of casualties. Is this the White Devil's declaration of war against the government? Is this the start of an all-out battle between mutants and humans? At Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, Professor X, the White Devil's actions are impacting the entire mutant population, damaging the peace between mutants and ordinary people. Hank, the blue-furred beast, approached Professor X. Professor, Hank said, the military's warning us to help take down the White Devil, or they'll consider all mutants enemies of the state. Beast's words forced Professor X's hand. Prepare for action, he told Hank. We have to stop him. But the White Devil's too powerful, we're outmatched. He easily defeated alien invaders. His powers grown significantly. We have to try, Hank. It's for the future of mutants, our future. Reluctantly, Beast agreed to rally the X-Men. Meanwhile, Eddie Brock, reporting from the wreckage of another base, received an official statement. Turning to the camera, he told viewers. Don't panic. The X-Men have assured us that the White Devil's actions aren't representative of the mutant community. This isn't a war between mutants and humans. The X-Men have pledged to join the military in hunting down and eliminating the White Devil. The military also claims to have acquired weapons capable of defeating the White Devil. This time, they say, he won't escape. He'll be stopped, once and for all. Eddie Brock's report ignited a firestorm online. Some, fearing retribution in a world ruled by the White Devil, voiced support. I'll always stand with the White Devil. He'll crush the incompetent military and government. But secretly, they prayed for his downfall. Others, a mix of fanatical ordinary people and mutants, particularly those persecuted by the authorities, were genuine supporters. The Savior will lead us to war against the corrupt officials and government. We'll overthrow them and build a world where mutants are free from persecution. Yes. The Savior will lead us to revenge. Long live the Savior. The White Devil's detractors, meanwhile, confidently predicted his demise at the hands of the X-Men and the military. They cheered, proclaiming that after the White Devil was gone, peace would reign again. Those damn mutants won't cause any more trouble. In a hidden room, Polaris and her companion watched the news. Her companion wanted to rush to Sumu's aid, but Polaris stopped him. Seeing the questioning look, Polaris struggled to explain. She tried to convey that Sumu wasn't what they expected, that he didn't differentiate between mutants and humans. Her companion clearly didn't believe her. Your power's too limited, she finally said. You wouldn't be able to help him. You just get in the way. Her companion accepted that explanation. In another secret location, Magneto watched Eddie Brock's report and addressed the Brotherhood. We must act. This is a golden opportunity to wipe out humanity. If Charles wants to stop the White Devil and prevent war, then we'll ignite that war. The future belongs to mutants. We will be the rulers of the new world. His words electrified the Brotherhood members. They had long dreamed of the future Magneto promised, and now it seemed within reach. Sumu was oblivious to the online frenzy, and wouldn't have cared even if he knew. He ignored both his supporters and his detractors. He was his own person, acting solely for himself. Arriving at another military base, ready to destroy it, Sumu suddenly glanced into the distance, a happy smile spreading across his face. Looks like the confident military's made a new move. He held out his palm, drawing something towards him. The azure black hole and the black-red singularity merged, forming a terrifying purple illusion sphere. Let's give them a little welcome gift. The purple sphere tore through the air, hurtling towards the 200 Sentinel robots speeding towards him. Chapter 69, Technique, Level 4 of the Cang technique, Earth-shattering star. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 69, Cursed Spirit Manipulation, Lapse Blue LV4, Cataclysmic Star. The speed of cursed technique reversal, red is insane. Even though most of the Sentinel robots managed to dodge, dozens still caught the blast. Some were obliterated, leaving nothing behind. Others were mangled beyond recognition. Sumu, with a single, almost casual move, halted the Sentinel's seemingly unstoppable advance, delivering a massive blow to the distant generals observing the battle. One general immediately grilled Colonel Stryker. "Stryker, didn't you claim the Sentinel's materials had been significantly upgraded? How is the White Devil tearing through them like this?" Stryker, looking rattled, explained. "The White Devil's cursed energy sphere packs more punch than we anticipated. I'd wager even adamantium and vibranium couldn't withstand that kind of force. So, while the Sentinel's materials are improved, they're still vulnerable. But rest assured, generals, that level of output can't be sustained. The White Devil's other attacks are unlikely to destroy the current Sentinel models, and he will be defeated." Stryker's explanation calmed the generals, who resumed watching the battle with their initial arrogance. True to form, the damaged Sentinels rapidly regenerated, with non-metallic substances materializing to fill the gaps. Sumu noticed this and observed the robots with interest. These Sentinels were a far cry from the first generation, resembling the future models. However, unlike their future counterparts, they each had a glowing arc reactor in their chest. These Sentinels had clearly been upgraded by the Big Boss and Ivan Vanko. Sumu suspected Mr. Fantastic had a hand in it, too. His 6 eyes revealed the addition of several devices, including familiar space disruption and mutant suppression tech. Interesting. He grew excited. Undaunted by the oncoming Sentinels, Sumu charged forward. He closed the distance and unleashed a punch. Boom! Black and red lightning engulfed the area. The Sentinel caught in the blast shattered immediately, taking out others in its path. After the black flash, Sumu entered the zone and pressed his attack. Activating Unlimited Void, he teleported 15 feet. Then, he grabbed a Sentinel's head, ignoring the scorching energy blasts from its face. A black and red singularity formed in his palm, slamming directly into the Sentinel's head. At such close range, cursed technique reversal, black left the Sentinel's upper body completely destroyed. Even then, the Sentinel tried to regenerate, but it didn't stand a chance. Unlimited void slashes pummeled the Sentinel's body, obliterating everything within a 15-foot radius of Sumu. The generals, witnessing the familiar slaughter, glared at Stryker. This time, Stryker was ready. "Generals, watch the Sentinel's next move." Buzzing and roaring filled the air, shaking the space itself. The strange vibrations disrupted space, nullifying Sumu's unlimited void, and suppressed his mutant abilities. The Sentinels, arranged in a specific formation, caged Sumu. The mutant suppression and space disruption device's power increased exponentially. Any other mutant would be helpless, and Sumu's own abilities faltered when the suppression device activated. But now, with 6 eyes at level 4, his energy control was far superior. He instantly adapted to the situation, but didn't show it. Instead, he allowed the Sentinels to attack him, not just because the attacks were harmless, but also because the system suddenly chimed. Cursed Spirit Manipulation, Lapse Blue Experience +1. Congratulations. Your skill, Cursed Spirit Manipulation, Lapse Blue, has leveled up. Cursed Spirit Manipulation, Lapse Blue LV4, January 5000 generates intense attraction, turning the distance between objects into negative infinity, creating a miniature black hole. Extreme repulsion compresses space. Continuous use of Lapse Blue during flight had steadily increased his experience. Now, Lapse Blue had finally leveled up. This upgrade added a new feature. The teleportation aspect of Blue was no longer just incredibly fast movement, but a genuine space jump. The increased gravity could warp spacetime, connecting distant points. It wasn't on par with the absolute control of Unlimited Void, but it significantly enhanced Sumu's speed. And, the multiplied gravity amplified the power of lapse blue, a skill that had been fading into obsolescence, giving it a renewed impact. As the Sentinel's sharp arms closed in, and the generals and Striker anticipated the White Devil's demise, Sumu froze. He looked up at the hundreds of enhanced Sentinels, a twisted smile on his face. Cataclysmic star, boom. A massive azure vortex erupted in front of Sumu, pulling everything toward it. P.S. Cataclysmic star is like lapse, blue, but darkened to dark blue, and scaled up to Sumu's size. Whether it was the attacking sentinels, the searing energy rays, or even the ambient sunlight, everything was drawn in by the overwhelming gravity, unable to escape. The azure vortex deepened to dark blue, resembling a true black hole devouring everything around it. To be continued. Chapter 70, Void Style Level 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 70, Virtual Technique Purple LV2. The generals and Colonel Stryker watched in stunned disbelief as the ground buckled under an intense gravity field, instantly obliterating the military base. Buildings and bedrock alike were sucked into a terrifying, black-blue vortex. The Sentinel robots above Sumu were next. Energy beams hit first, followed by the closest robot, and then those farther away. Those distant Sentinels clearly sensed the danger and tried to escape. They shifted forms and deployed every mutant ability they had, but nothing worked. They were relentlessly pulled toward the black-blue vortex by the overwhelming gravity. Soon, a massive sphere hung in the air above what was left of the base. A swarm of Sentinel robots struggled on its surface, morphing into ice, fire, and other substances, but the gravity held them fast. Against gravity, one of the universe's fundamental forces, the Sentinel's multiple mutant abilities, even boosted by the arc reactor, were useless. The generals, watching from surveillance satellites, could no longer keep their composure. Their earlier coolness vanished, echoing their reaction when the White Devil walked out of the nuclear blast unharmed. They immediately grilled Stryker for a solution, but this time, he just stared at the screen, speechless, his face grim. The generals went pale. The smart ones cut the connection and scrambled to evacuate the base, seeking shelter elsewhere. The third attempt to defeat the White Devil had ended in utter failure. Massive amounts of matter were drawn in by the reverse technique heat, gathering around the black and blue vortex. A huge sphere of collected matter formed rapidly in the sky, engulfing the Sentinel robots in a swirling mix of substances. Even after Sumu stopped channeling energy, the sphere continued to pull in surrounding matter, shrinking in volume while its gravity intensified. If Sumu ignored it, the ultradense sphere created by Cang might actually become a black hole, capable of swallowing the entire planet. Through his 6 eyes, Sumu observed the trapped Sentinels contorting their bodies, unable to break free, their forms collapsing under the crushing gravity. This asterisk was a testament to the collaborative genius of the three. This robot was far more advanced than any future Sentinel. But they weren't those Sentinels, and he wasn't that mutant. He snapped his fingers. Even without the pre-seal, the power of the virtual technique purple was diminished, but after the 6 eyes and Cang reached level 4, it still far exceeded his attack on the destroyer armor. Repulsion and gravity collided, forming an imaginary sphere crackling with purple lightning, now several times larger than before. Its power was amplified just as dramatically. The devastating imaginary sphere ripped through space and obliterated the black hole in waiting. It punched through the desolate desert, escaped Earth's gravity, and vanished into the distance. As the powerful virtual technique purple dissipated, Sumu heard the system notification. Virtual technique purple experience +1. Congratulations. Your skill, virtual technique purple, has leveled up. Virtual technique purple LV2, 1/300 overlap technique Cang and reversal technique he to form an imaginary mass, releasing energy waves that can cut through space. You can also manipulate the imaginary mass to a certain extent. New memories flooded Sumu's mind. The 6 eyes helped him absorb them instantly, and he performed the virtual technique purple again. 2 small spheres blended in his hands, forming a thumb-sized imaginary sphere. Unlike at LV1, Sumu could now shape and control the purple energy in more ways. The sphere twisted and stretched, breaking free of its spherical form to become a slender, dagger-like shape in his hand. Looking at the dagger made of imaginary mass, Sumu was eager to see what changes awaited at higher levels. Even at LV2, the virtual technique purple granted him not just more power, but far greater control. What would LV3 bring? Carefully controlling the dagger, Sumu tossed it down. It shattered the sound barrier, plunged into the earth, and continued hundreds of feet underground. It struck the fleeing general in the secret passage, completely obliterating him. Next, not having dealt with the general, Sumu flew at high speed toward his next target. Thanks to the upgraded Cang technique, his speed increased again, reaching Mach 100. While not as fast as speedsters, he outpaced most superheroes. Sumu could not only use magic spells to reverse Cang and fold space, but also use unlimited magic spells to control space. When the portal is upgraded again, he can use the portal to reach any corner of the universe. Coupled with the lightning-fast reaction time provided by his LV4 6 eyes, even a speedster would be helpless against him. The upgraded Cang made his killing spree even more efficient. Within hours, he had eliminated most of the generals. He arrived at the last military base, ready to launch his imaginary sphere, when a futuristic aircraft appeared. It landed in front of him, and several mutants in yellow uniforms emerged. The X-Men. Professor X stepped forward. White Devil, stop. What you're doing is jeopardizing the fragile balance between mutants and humans. Do you want to trigger World War III? Sumu ignored him. Instead, his gaze fell on Jean Grey. Immense energy radiated from her. Like a phoenix incarnate, the Phoenix Girl had obviously bonded with the Phoenix Force, channeling its power. She was now capable of posing a slight threat to him. But only a trace. No matter how immense the Phoenix Force, she only wielded a fragment. He wondered if he could strip the Phoenix Force from Jean and claim that power for himself. P.S. A new template is coming soon. Any guesses? Keep reading.